Welcome to another episode of the Student Manager Podcast. Joining me, Newport Harbor alum, class of 21, Eliana Gottlieb, and she is a sophomore at Oregon State, starting outfielder. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Good to be home for the break.
Yep.
And then how long, you're softball, right? So it's great. Obviously, my podcast helps high school students and parents with the college search and admission process. But, athletes out there in high school, parents, they kind of want to know, am I going to be able to see my kid for Thanksgiving? Am I going to be able to see my kid for Christmas? Or how's the schedule? So in softball, how does it work? Do you come home for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then, because your season's about to start?
Yeah. So softball's a spring sport. So we get a good break. I'm home for a month right now. We have a couple days off for Thanksgiving that I did come home for, which is fun. Thanksgiving is like my favorite holiday. And I would say we get a good time off. Once we go back to school, though, we do kind of go strong from January all the way to June. So I don't get to come home. But my parents have been trying to come out to a lot of games, which is like our quality time together.
Right. Being a parent, I talked to your dad, Jay, a lot. We're on the golf course, and I said, wow, you get to go see all these Pac-12 games, right?
Yeah.
You're going to get UCLA and USC when you come, well, not USC, but UCLA when they come down here, or even a road trip to Tucson or a road trip to Phoenix. So it's a hop, skip, and a jump for them.
Yeah. And we usually get to spend like 15, 20 minutes after the game talking before I have to go, which isn't a lot of time, but you make it count. And so it's fun just knowing like they're up in the stands.
And there's other Southern California girls on your team.
Yeah.
Right? So I've had friends that played for some Pac-12 teams, and it's no different than probably a high school game or a travel ball team. You get the parents, and then you see your kid, and hopefully maybe even sometimes parents have all the players over at based off of what city you're living in for like a dinner or something, right? And the coaches are pretty flexible.
Yeah, we usually do. My team, we do one dinner a weekend. We'll get to go, like the bus will drop us off somewhere and the parents can meet us there. So once a weekend, everyone who has parents wherever we are will get to see them.
All right. So coming from Harbor, you played softball. Academically, you were taking some tough classes. Why Oregon State? Let's talk about Corvallis, because it's not Oregon, right? It's Oregon State. So why?
Corvallis is different. It's really just the college town. That's all there is to it. But when you live there, there's just such a culture that you're a part of. It's just the school, it's just the students, and just the athletic department itself. The whole, like all teams, not just softball. It's like you're a part of a family. Like I love living there. Definitely the rain was something to get used to, but Corvallis itself is just awesome. There's seasons. It's a lot different than Newport Beach, but it was a really good change for me. And
you knew going in or going up there, it was going to rain.
Yeah.
Right? And it was going to be gray. And the reason why I asked that is because my daughter is graduating University of Washington, and I'm going to see if the same philosophy and culture exist in Corvallis. But yes, it rains a lot and it's gray, and it's probably only pretty August and September.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So those of you that are listening, that's a student or a parent, yes, it's like today. Eliana, look.
It's so nice outside here.
Yes.
Right now.
And I forgot, because part of this podcast, I will film you. That's why we got the beautiful setting, right? It's sunny and it's good to be home. You got a smile on your face, right? Now, people at UW in Seattle, they really don't carry umbrellas around, because when it rains, it just spits on you.
Yeah.
Right? Is that the same? Talk about, like, if you see someone in an umbrella walking on campus,
I would probably laugh.
Okay, right? Like, dork.
Yeah, like just put a hood on or walk through it.
Because it's that slow drizzle.
I think it definitely pours. Like, it definitely comes down hard. But I really don't see people with umbrellas. And if I did, I'd be like, what are you doing?
That can't be the worst. I love to talk about weather because people from out here will say, oh, but I want warm, or my kid needs warm. So that's not the worst thing about Oregon State. If I said, and I love to ask this question, what do you not like about Oregon State?
There's no malls. Like, if I want to go to a shopping mall, I have to go to Eugene. which is not a bad drive.
Ooh, enemy territory.
Yeah, enemy territory. So that's like growing up in Newport Beach, like you can drive 5 minutes and you're at Fashion Island, or then you're at the beach, or you're at South Coast Plaza. And so they don't have that in Corvallis.
All right, and here's one we always hear. And well, before I get there, so how often are you driving to Eugene? Like, what are you picking up at the mall?
Rarely. I never go.
Okay.
Because it's not like easily accessible.
Now, are you living? I'm gonna assume your freshman year, you probably lived in the dorms.
Yeah. So my freshman year, they put the athletes all together in a dorm. It was athletes and then international students shared a dorm. This year, I live in an off-campus apartment.
Okay, and so living in the off-campus apartment, this is where I'm getting like, where's the closest grocery store? Where are you going? Is there a Costco or Trader Joe's?
They have like Safeway. They have Fred Meyer. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but that's the big grocery store up there. They have everything, Trader Joe's.
How was living in the dorms your freshman year? Because you did say it's the athletes, and some universities do that, right? They have athletes living in specific athlete dorms. The food's better, and then you have the GDIs. We call them goddamn individuals. They're living in the other dorms, right? So how was it living in the dorms your freshman year? Was it like did you have one roommate, suite mates?
So I had one roommate and then two other suite mates, and the four of us shared a bathroom, which was nice not having a big communal one. And I really enjoyed it because I think that's where I met like a bunch of other people from other sports that I would say I'm still friends with today. And everything in Corvallis is walkable. Like it's all so close. And so I didn't have a car my freshman year and I really didn't need it. You could walk to the softball field for practice, walk to all my classes, walk to get food. So it was nice. I mean, living in an apartment is way better than a dorm any day, but it was not a bad experience at all.
And now living in the dorms. So did you pick all your roommates from you're going to see them too much. So I don't know if it's all softball teammates or did you go, oh, I want this person that I met who I'm really good friends with. Who are your roommates today?
All softball players,
okay.
Which was a hesitation for me. My freshman year, I was like, I'm going to see them all the time. I don't know if I want to live with other of my teammates. But the good thing about it is you're all on the same schedule. So that's really helpful. And the three other girls that I lived with last year, I still live with today. And so it worked out. Like we all love living with each other and we don't get sick of each other. So
family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you all from the class of 21?
Yeah.
Okay. So from Southern California?
Uh-huh. All of us are from Southern California.
Okay. So you guys are probably like the little 4-pack clique.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you came out of Harbor, or I'm gonna take it back further because we talked about this growing up. You played softball at Newport Mesa, growing up in the rec league, right?
Yeah.
Which is fun. It's great. Slow pitch, a daddy pitch, right?
Yeah.
And then you start getting to level. When did you say to yourself, you know what? I want to do this in high school. I want to play competitively, and possibly I want to play in college.
I think those all came at different times. I would say 8th grade was when I started really taking it seriously and was like, I should join a team that's not rec ball. And then probably like the end of freshman, sophomore year, I was like, wow, I could play in college. Like I could take this somewhere. And with softball, you can't commit to a college until September 1st of your junior year. So everything kind of happens later. But when I joined the Corona Angels, freshman year of high school, that was when I was like playing with all these older girls that were already committed to colleges and stuff. And I was like, wow, like I'm a part of this. Like that can be me in 3 years.
What did you learn from them? What did you take away? I mean, you were a freshman, right? You were probably 14, playing on a 16s team.
Mm-hmm. Just like the one thing that the Corona Angels was all about was like the want and a drive to play. Like just the want to go out there and just absolutely demolish everyone you play. That was probably the biggest thing I learned was that, and like challenging your teammates. We carried rosters of like 30 girls and 9 play. And so like how do you get better is you challenge the other girls that play in the same position as you, and then you push and you compete, and then one of you earns the starting spot. And to me, that's the best way that you get better as a player.
See, it's not that Newport soft for first
Yeah,
off, right?
it's not.
It's not Newport
It's not.
Soft. It's not these entitled, my kid should play. Because, and this is great having you on the podcast because I came from the softball world, and you're absolutely right. First, especially when they're going to premieres, right? Which is funny because you're playing all these best teams, but like, why go somewhere out of the United States when everyone wants to come here in Southern California and play for that tournament, right? But if your kid wasn't playing, you had kids leaving that team that weekend and maybe other pitchers coming on your team, or else maybe just for the championship run, they would bring 5 pitchers or whatever to the team, and they would, I call it club hop because that's what they were doing, right?
Yeah, we call it like pickup players. Yeah.
Well, that's why I love you stayed with the Corona Angels. And for those of you that are listening, Corona Angels, like, they're legit. Like, they have 20,000 coaches. Like, I always like to say, oh, that's great, you played for the Corona Angels. What coach, right? It's always the name, like, 16 Fong, 16 Gottlieb.
Yeah, I think out of all the big softball organizations, I would say the Corona Angels it's not as big as you see like Bat Busters, Firecrackers, like those, like they have like 40, 16U teams. Corona Angels
It's all money.
Yeah, this is smaller, maybe like 5 or 6 teams. But why I wanted to stay with them was it was challenging, but it was fun. Like, I woke up every weekend and I was like, oh my God, it's 6 a.m., but I am so excited to go play today. Yeah.
And I could see it because for those of you who are listening and parents that, like, right, they live their life vicariously through their kids, your kid they have to want it, right? You're waking up. I mean, my son played hockey and he was waking up at 4 and 5. And then there comes a point he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Or my daughter was doing softball and then she switched to volleyball. And then it's just, you either have it or you don't, where that drive where you're going to continue to the next level. Because you could obviously do it at Newport Harbor High School and go play at a club team. But for you to take it to the next level, you knew you had that determination.
Yeah. And I think when you play on a team, when every girl is also like that, it just makes it easier to want to go.
Okay. Do you get that from your mom or dad?
Maybe a little both.
Because I see it in your dad.
Yeah.
Jay, if you're listening.
He probably will.
Okay, so now we're in high school, and the recruiting process, obviously, you're talking about you don't sign until September 1st, junior year, which I think is phenomenal because I don't think any kid in any sport should be committing in their freshman year because you're 14 years old.
Yeah, like, people want to, but I could say, like, you don't know what you want. You really don't.
So how many other schools were in the run for a natural lefty, right?
Yeah.
Are you a 5-tool?
Sort of.
Come on, you can say it.
I don't do a lot of slapping anymore.
Okay.
But I used to.
That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And I talked to your dad about that too. Because I go, she's a slapper.
I used to a lot, but not so much anymore.
You're just natural.
Just a natural lefty.
So going back to coming out from the Corona Angels, because that's where all the recruiting is.
Yeah.
And club. High school's fun. Just go play with your friends.
Yeah, everything comes out of club.
Because you're not going to win a CIF at Harbor.
Oh, sorry,
No
Tom.
offense.
Yeah.
No offense. So what were some of the schools that you were looking at besides Oregon State?
Well, I actually had like a really interesting recruiting process. Definitely COVID had an impact. But my sophomore and junior year, Oregon State was like not even on my radar. I went to a couple visits. I visited Virginia, Northwestern, and Minnesota. And I actually ended up, the very beginning of my junior year, committing to Minnesota. And I was committed there for about a year, like all through my junior year. And they had a coaching change. The coach went to Ole Miss, and I was like, I want to stay at Minnesota. And then, like, probably the beginning of my senior year, I got a call, and it was like, we don't have an offer for you anymore because everything's verbal at that point.
Yes.
You sign your NLI the November of your senior year. And I was like, what do you mean? And can I?
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, like shit hit the fan. And I was like, what do I do? Like, I'm supposed to sign an NLI in 2 weeks and I have no more scholarship anymore. And so that was heartbreaking. And at that point, like, COVID had been going on. And so you couldn't go on visits anywhere. Like, you couldn't go see places. You couldn't go on officials, unofficials, anything. And I was like, oh my God. And my coach at the Corona Angels, he's awesome. He can just pull things out of nowhere. And he knew Coach Berg, my coach at Oregon State, previously, and had reached out and was like, I have a player for you. She got in a bad situation. And I talked to Coach Berg. I did a lot of research on Oregon State, and I signed that November. And it was crazy. And I had never been
Sight
on
unseen?
campus. Yeah, I had never been on campus because you couldn't go visit. And the first time I'd even seen Coach Berg in person was when I moved in my freshman year, which was crazy. And everything happens for a reason because I love it. And I mean, I never would have expected my life to be where it is right now 3 years ago, but it's awesome.
I agree with you 100%. Everything happens for a reason. And the great story. We're going to dig a little deeper on that because there's a couple things that I think not only a parent should really get out of what you just said, but a student as well, right? And I mean, sight unseen is during COVID. You're probably just talking to Coach Berg through like Zoom meetings and team meetings. Mm-hmm. But that's also why someone should be listening to this podcast. They might be in the same situation, right? Like Oregon State. Like, let me hear about Oregon State. Student athlete or not student athlete. They could be listening and saying, okay, what does Eliana like about Corvallis, or what does she not like? But what you said, and you hit on it, and this is where I think I want you to give your advice to not only a student that might be thinking they're a student athlete, but a parent too, because you're absolutely right, especially these signing days, right, in November, which is a bunch of BS because all they're signing is just a blank piece of paper, right? And as a student manager, right, this podcast is the student manager podcast. You're not official. You're not a Beaver until you actually step foot on that campus, and you're still not on scholarship all 4 years. It's year to year. They could take that scholarship away any day. You can get hurt. That coach at Minnesota left, right? That happens a lot.
Yeah.
So you just said you were devastated. It was hurt. I mean, I would love to get your perspective on a student, knowing what you know now. Like, what advice would you give a student going through that process, knowing that a coach can leave anytime, or more importantly to that parent, because your parents like Jay and Rebecca are probably going, I don't know what they were thinking. So,
well, from like a recruiting standpoint as an athlete, I would say don't commit somewhere for a coach.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have to live there. You have to go to school there too. It's not just the coach. That's important. From just a regular student standpoint, the name of the school isn't everything. That's for sure. I think a big thing in Newport Beach is like USC, UCLA, and that might not be the best fit for you, even though it sounds nice.
I agree with you 100%, especially with the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Right? Because I kind of feel like college is like club sports. If you don't like what you're doing, you don't like your coach, they're going to put their name in the transfer portal, right? Oh, I'm not getting playing time. Mom, Dad, I'm not getting playing time. And especially, right, if you're out here.
Yeah.
Well, have you ever thought about going to another school? That's why I love the consistency with Corona Angels, right, for 4 years. And just what you're talking about now is don't pick a school for the coach. Go for your one ACL from never playing again. Right?
Yeah.
Torn ACL from never playing again. And if you're a student, you would be very, very happy as an Oregon State Beaver in Corvallis, if I'm hearing that correctly.
Yeah, I think my parents would say this too, is like, if you got injured and could never play softball again, would you still go to school there? And if the answer is no, then is that the right school for you?
So let's talk about the class schedules like at Corvallis, right? Because it's very balanced, especially on the road and the traveling. Math major, correct? What do you want to do?
Sports statistics.
Data science.
Yeah.
Like, break that down further. Like, what type of analysis and statistics?
Like, hopefully for an MLB team would be awesome. That'd be like my dream, but honestly, anything.
Okay, so you'll get this and appreciate this, because this is even before like the shift was on. This was like 2000. I'm going to say, hold on, Julie, it's 2002, 2008, 2009. This is like 8U softball rec. Okay. Did your dad ever coach?
No.
Okay. Tell me if your coach ever did this. We had a player. There's two things that they're going to bring up because this all kind of relates to data science. We're playing, it was an 8U team, and I brought the center fielder up to play like between right behind second base. So I only had two outfielders, and I just kind of moved them out because I go, they're not going to hit it there. They're going to hit it in the infield. So what happened? They hit it right to my person. We threw it at first base. I won't mention any names, but the coach goes, Fong, that's Bush League. I'm like, what?
It worked.
It worked. But it even gets better. So like at 10U, did you ever pitch lefty? Or do you?
Years ago in rec ball.
Okay. So Julie was a lefty, right? So she was pitching, and my all-star catcher and our fall ball catcher, we were playing against in rec league. Rec league's fun, right? Yeah. So I moved. She's right-handed. She's not going to hit it on the all she wants to do is pull, right? So Julie is lefty, off speed. She can't throw. You would have crushed it over her. So I probably would have done something different to you too. But I shifted everyone over to the right. Like the third base, there was no way she was going to pull it because it was just off speed. I knew she was going to chase it. And my good friend, she's like, that's BS, Fong. I'm like, what? But is that like just knowing that little data science, right? The little numbers.
Just the little analytics that like can help you so much. Yeah.
It's like we're not playing checkers, we're playing chess.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the shift in Major League Baseball going away?
I don't think they should make it go away. Like, if the hitter can't adjust, then I think that's on him. We shift in softball in the outfield all the time for slappers. You see, like, as a center fielder, I literally play left center field, like 2 feet into the grass. Like, and that's where they hit the ball. That's where I want to stand.
Right. So why wouldn't, like, do you ever think, or even if how do they play you when you're up? Because are you, I don't even know what number you bat. You're not 1 or 2.
Last year I batted second.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it depends on the team.
By the way, she's all Pac-12 freshman year.
Last year, as the year went on, teams get researched. They know I didn't slap that much. And so being at the top of the order can be a little confusing because you expect slappers to be up there, especially as a lefty. So some teams played me in and saw I didn't slap and they immediately adjust. But the good thing about that is I can slap. And so I read the defense. And if the third baseman is like, she's hitting away and she's 3 feet behind third base, I'm gonna drop a bunt.
That's what I was getting at, because like even in the major leagues, I'm like, just why won't someone just punch one right down the line? There's nobody there. Is it ego at that level?
I don't know. Maybe.
But you're smart enough to read that defense, and if they're playing back, like if she's playing right at the third base line, like right at the edge, will you drop one?
I'm not fast enough. I'll say that.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, home the first. What's your speed?
Just under 3.
Okay, because I remember like reading. Like, what's the fastest? Who's the fastest on your team?
They probably run like 2.6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
so yeah. I'm not fast enough for that.
You probably got that speed from Jay. Okay, so center fielder, captain of the team. Center fielder, I always call it captain of the field, like, because you see everything,
yeah.
Right? And you can call off the left fielder, you can call off the right fielder. Do you like to play? Well, you just kind of said you're not that fast. So would you play more in and dare them to hit over you so you can have everything coming in front of you? How do you play that center field position?
Well, definitely it depends on the hitter. I think that's the first thing that I look at, that and their swing. You can tell by the swing, are they going to pull it? Are they late? Are they early? And that affects your like side to side shift. And also just the situation of the game. Like, where are the runners on base? Like, do you want a little dinker to fall? Can you afford that? Or are you going to play back, cut off balls so that people aren't getting doubles? And I think it really just depends, like, batter to batter, situation, inning to inning.
And what about your pitcher, like righty or lefty, or you kind of know where they're pitching? And do you look at that catcher and see what they're called?
Like, we have the infielders relay signs back,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the biggest thing you learned from Coach Berg?
Well, she's an awesome outfielder. She played center field in the Olympics, has 4 gold medals. So I mean, everything. She teaches so much in the outfield, just at practice. So I think I've definitely gotten more like fundamentally sound since I've been at college.
Did you have an outfield coach out here when you're growing up?
At the Corona Angels, so my coach, his daughter played center field at Kentucky. And so she came back and she helped coach and did the outfield.
What's the one piece of advice recommendation you would give to any athlete coming out of high school looking at a college besides not committing too early?
Oh, that's a hard, just one piece of advice. I would say this might be controversial, but one thing that's important is if you can reach out to a player on the team or someone that has been there before, look at like transfer rates. Like, do a bunch of girls leave that team? Then ask why, because that might be important to you. And also look at like if you could get in contact with someone on the team, like ask them what the culture is like and what it's like to be a member on the team with the other girls, because that's who you spend all your days with.
Eliana, just listening to you, I mean, you're well ahead. You're not your average sophomore in college.
Thank you.
Okay? Because, and that's a compliment to your parents, because you're thinking about things and communicating things that I talk to students and parents about a lot. I mean, first, if anything ever happened to you, would you still want to go to school here? That's what you said was huge. Or what you were just talking about of interviewing, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm helping, and one day you'll finish Oregon State and you'll be trying to interview for an MLB team. I have the hiring manager, which is a spinoff of this podcast, and it talks about and really helps college grad students with the interviewing process. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, yes, you're interviewing for a company. Let's say you're interviewing for an MLB team. They're interviewing you, but you should be interviewing them too. I tell that to students all the time, like, well, okay, ask them about this, about that. Like, you know, if the coach is going to be there, or like, what's your philosophy? What's your system? Like, didn't you know that before you're going into school?
Yeah.
Like, why am I not playing? Why am I not playing like a lefty, right? So good piece of advice. What about to parents, especially out here? Because every parent, I'm sure you grew up in Corona Angel family land, and then here, parents think their kids a little bit better than they really are.
Yeah. I would say don't rush. Take your time and find the right school. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter sports-wise how early in your junior year you commit, because you still sign on the same day as everyone else.
And that's, for those of you listening that aren't student athletes, there's a reason why there's a May 1st college deadline date. People are getting accepted, like starting now. This is the class of 23, right? People are getting accepted. They put their applications in September, October, and you might hear in December. But January, February, March, you're going to hear from colleges. And then all friends are talking, even at Newport Harbor, right? If you were class of 21, you knew you were going to Oregon State, but were your friends, did you feel pressure did you sense pressure from your friends where some of them were like, well, I'm going here. And some were like, well, I don't even know where I'm going, but they just kind of felt like I needed to commit. There's a reason why there's a May 1st deadline date.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, you all move into school on the same day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that one. I might have to steal that one. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
Yeah.
You all move in on the same day. And that's when you met your coach.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the food at Oregon State. Okay? Because a lot of guests I have on, they talk about how horrible dorm food is. How bad? I mean, you were in the nice student athlete dorms, but
the dorm food is dorm food. How good can it be? But the good thing about being an athlete was I had a lot of meals given to me that weren't dorm food. And so I think it made the dorm food not as bad as it probably was, because I didn't eat it that often. Is we had breakfast supplied to us every day. We have this thing called Red Card, which is like money that you get to apply to certain restaurants, and we get it twice a week that we use for dinners. So you can like go to Chipotle, Jersey Mike's, Qdoba, places like that you have money credited to. And I mean, when we play games or travel, all your meals are provided for you. And so I really wasn't eating dining hall food that much. So I thought it was probably better than it was, because I rarely ate it.
I remember on break, because we at Long Beach State, we'd get 5 weeks that we had to be on. It's basketball season, right? So all the basketball players are not at home right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they would always hand us the envelopes. I mean, I was a manager. They're handing us envelopes, and we're like, oh, where do we get to go eat now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's the best, is like when you get your per diem on the bus and you're like, yes.
Now, do some of the girls, do some of them save it and actually go buy, like in our day, people were buying headsets.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so what do they buy? Because they're like, ooh, I'm gonna
shoes.
Okay, is that what they do?
Try to buy like the cheapest meals and save up your per diem to go shopping.
I'm gonna buy top raw. So tell me what is the 4-pack? I'm gonna call you guys the 4-pack at Oregon State. What are you guys buying so cheap where you're saving your money that you're gonna go your per diem? What are you buying?
Shopping, really. One of my roommates got a tattoo.
Okay.
She saved up some of her per diem. Yeah.
Would you get one?
A tattoo?
Yes.
I have a couple. I have 2. I don't need any more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going out, you get your per diem. What are some cool places in Corvallis? I don't want to look it up because I'll probably butcher the name. There was a cool little sports bar that when I went there for business, after I went to go check out the campus, I ate. It was like upstairs. It was like right on the corner. But I don't know what that place is, but I want to hear some like places that you like to hang out at. What's good to eat in Corvallis?
There's a couple good restaurants. My personal favorite is Sky High. They have it's like 3 stories, and in the springtime when it's not raining in the summer, they have like a rooftop bar, which is super fun to go out on. That's probably my favorite place.
See, I'm looking, I can't even think. That's Sky High. What's the Upper Deck Pub?
Yeah. There's like so the downtown area has a lot of like fun little restaurants that are just like local to Corvallis only.
Okay.
There's not really like chains that you would find anywhere, like in Corvallis that you find anywhere else.
No, the place I went, it was all black and orange. Like there was like, you knew it was.
There's a place called Angry Beaver. That's like a sports bar. It has 2 floors.
That might be, I don't know. It was on the corner. It's a while ago. So when your parents are in town, where are they taking you? Where's like the nicest meal? Like when any of your roommates or your friends' parents are in town, where are they taking you to eat?
There's this place called Block 15. It's a good restaurant, probably one of the nicer ones. Sit down, actually get a good meal that costs money. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we like. Like the most. And then do your roommates are vice versa? I know like when we go out to Wisconsin and Seattle, Julie always says, how many friends I could bring? Right? Like,
yeah.
So do you bring like, and then when your friends come, do they just go balls out and order whatever they want? Because that's what we like. That's what, as parents, what we like that.
I would say no. I think, well, my roommates and I, like all of our parents are friends, and like, I see him now. My one of my roommates went to Los Al, and so like we played her in high school. Like I see her all the time. So I think it's like normal for us to go out to eat with each other's parents.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's good. And the parents get along.
Yeah.
And then they go on road trips, right?
Yeah.
And then there's some parents that probably the parents don't want to hang out with.
I'm sure, but that's the parent drama.
Okay, so here's one, because it happens. It follows not only in high school, but it happens in club, and I've seen it happen at the collegiate level too. Okay, because we had a friend that played for UW, and we'd be sitting in the stands. Like, are there obnoxious parents of players on the teams that you can hear? When I say obnoxious, like the kind of like the obnoxious in high school and club, where they're always bitching, complaining, and moaning.
Honestly, no. I would say that high school and club is 10 times worse for the parents, because I think the parents have maybe a little more influence. Whereas like in college, like if your parent's going crazy, my coach would probably tell me to tell him to shut the fuck up. Like,
right, coach, we're going to take that.
Yeah.
That must run in the that must run with because my coach was Seth Greenberg, right? So they just were very,
Yeah, and it looks bad on the school, like a little, if you have parents going crazy in the stands.
Can you hear people heckling?
Yeah, I love when people heckle me. It's honestly funny. Is my favorite in the outfield when they have stands out behind center field, and you have like kids out there yelling at you, and I think it's so funny.
What's the worst you've heard, or what's one that you just remember? Or that's got your attention? I mean, and you only had your freshman year, but
in Washington,
go figure.
They bring their band to softball games, and the band sits behind center field, and so the entire game I had like trumpets blaring in my ears, and these guys on the band like yelling at me to like raise my left hand for this and my right hand for that, and they're just going crazy, and I think it's so funny.
Now, as I kind of think of like the Yankees, or that's my team, I like to watch and follow when they do the the roll call, right? When they acknowledge. Do you actually have fun with them and acknowledge?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I come, because I told Jay, I go, I'll go up to the UCLA game. I go, let's go. And then once when I know of someone, like, and I don't have any skin in the game. They're just a friend's kid.
Yeah.
So, and I always get them to smile. Like, you'll acknowledge me when you're out in the field. I'm like, let's go, EG. Let's go, EG.
I'll smile at you.
Slap one for Mr. Fong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Favorite Pac-12 campus, not softball venue. And I know sometimes you don't get to see the campuses all the time.
Yeah. The campus that I think I saw the most of was Arizona State. Personally, it wasn't my favorite.
Too big?
Yeah, it's so separated. I didn't see a lot of schools. Pac-12 wise, I hate to say it, but the Oregon campus is really pretty. I can't believe that came out of my mouth.
I know, but you're being honest.
Yeah.
That's you're being why is it so pretty?
It's just so modern, and all the athletic facilities are nice.
Well,
I mean, ours are nice too.
It's night money.
Yeah.
But you would put Oregon above Oregon State facilities?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, Pac-12 other than Oregon State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think about UCLA?
We played UCLA at home last year. So I haven't really seen like the campus that well.
All right. Well, we'll get to see it in March.
Yeah.
I already circled the date. I said, Jay, we going up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We play UCLA at UCLA this year. My parents are like, the whole family's coming.
Yeah. Family and friends.
Yeah.
We'll bring the whole crew.
Everyone come.
And then what about tournaments or road games? What stood out in your mind? Because obviously you looked at Minnesota, you looked at Northwestern, and I think you said something back east.
Virginia.
That's a pretty campus.
Yeah, Virginia was really pretty.
Okay, but so road trips. What stood out in your mind?
My favorite trip was Tennessee. We played regionals there.
Okay.
I loved that campus. And
it's a religion out there, by the way, right?
Yeah, the SEC is crazy. That was probably one of my favorite trips, although it was terribly hot. It was like end of May. Gross. And I loved that. And the other place that I enjoyed, I really liked going to San Diego. We played at USD. I just like San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chill.
Yeah.
Kick back.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're playing in, I would just say the Pac-12 and SEC are the strongest conferences. I mean, you look at the College World Series that you guys went to, there was UCLA, ASU, and Oregon State. Or how many?
The Pac schools, it was us, UCLA, and Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think from the SEC, probably had 2 or 3.
Florida.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Scouting report on Oregon State this year. Where are they going to fall in the Pac-12?
Better than last year. Definitely. That's for sure.
So do you want to talk about that? Because you went to the College World Series, but you guys were peaking at the right time and you were playing.
Yeah, definitely. We definitely peaked at the end. I think we had a little slow part in probably the middle of Pac play. We lost like 8 games in a row by 1 run, and half of them were in extra innings. And it was just brutal. And my coaches were like, we're humping over the mountain. We're getting over the mountain. And then we did. We went to regional supers, the World Series, and we peaked at the right time. And I think last year we were a super young team. So I think this upcoming year, like we know what's going on, and we're just going to come out like we have something more to prove.
You have your team coming back. You've been there before. So what did you learn from that's good as a team that you guys are going to take into this year?
I think the biggest thing that we all learned that we want to be better at is consistency. And last year, I think it was like so much unknown. Like everyone was freshmen. We didn't know what was coming next, but now we do. And so now we know how to better prepare for it.
What's the scouting report on yourself? So you're doing data science, and we don't want to I'm not going to share this with UCLA or U of A or Oregon, but what's the dirt on EG?
I think definitely.
How am I going to pitch to you?
Well, I don't want to give that away. Throw me low and inside. It's my favorite.
Bye-bye. See ya.
One thing I want to be better about this upcoming year is definitely being more aggressive. One thing I learned was you get like one good pitch in at bat, and it's usually the first or second pitch. Yeah, and after that, it's the pitcher's game.
See, that's interesting because even before you said that, I was going to ask you because I remember when I played and even when Julia was pitching, I always tried to slow down the game, right? Because in rec ball, it's an hour, 15-minute, right? Drop dead.
Yeah.
So again, probably Bush League. But I always told my batters to take the first pitch. Mm-hmm. Like, because then it was a ball, I was going to tell them to take the second pitch. Uh-huh. And it was a ball again. But you're right. It could be a strike the first one, but I don't know. I just, is that a philosophy? Like, what else do you, that's, even when I watch baseball games today, and I know you might only get one first pitch and swing at it, but like, what's that strategy?
Well, like as a pitcher, the pitcher's goal is to get ahead of the batter, right? And then you want them to chase. And so usually your first or second pitch of the at bat is that pitch that pitcher wants to get ahead on. It's going to be a strike. And then once they have that strike on you, it's the pitches they want to throw, not the pitches you want to hit. That's kind of my mentality going into it.
Good mentality. Good mentality. Is there anything else that you would like to share to I'm going to say student athlete, like going through, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently that maybe if someone's listening, they'd be like, that's great advice?
Just make sure you're having fun. Like, it's hard work and it's a lot, but make sure you're having fun. And that's one thing I'm glad I did with my travel team was it was a lot of fun. And I don't think I would, if I did it again, I would still play on that same team.
Like you're a little kid, just have fun, right? But because it is a job.
It is a job, yeah. I say all the time that I'm in college as a student, but I work 40 hours a week.
It's a full-time job. Yeah. And you're not getting, well, do you have any NIL deals?
We have like a team thing, but I haven't been on top of that.
Okay. Because I was going to say, like, wait, you're not, come on. There's so many TikToks and there's so many,
I know. I'm not good at it.
Is this like your first interview? Like, you've gone on Oregon
I've
State?
done like newspaper stuff and things out at school.
But this has been more fun, huh?
Yeah.
Because it's your big break.
Yeah.
What about advice to parents?
The biggest recruiting thing I think for parents that my dad definitely helped me with is you have to be persistent with sending emails, sending your schedule and stuff. And that was probably the biggest thing I got annoyed about. I was like, Dad, like, I don't want to send more emails. Like, I don't. And he was like, no, like, you need to. And that's like, it helps. I mean, at a certain point, it doesn't help. They get thousands of emails every day. But definitely from a parent's view, just being supportive. I think my parents were always there, like, driving me to games and everything. And they probably hated it. I mean, we used to drive out to Riverside at like 10 p.m. I had hitting lessons at 10 p.m. During the weekdays, and my dad would drive me out there and we'd get home at midnight and he would like hate his life. But
so you can thank him for that now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, thanks.
And this is all through academics, and your mom didn't, like, I remember doing private lessons and my wife would be like, it's school night. Remember, student comes before athlete, right? 10 o'clock hitting lessons. Who did you go to?
Marty Tyson's the head of the Corona Angels.
Okay.
So he used to do lessons and they were like an hour long, and we asked for the latest time possible because it's like, you
traffic.
Take like the 91, the 15, you're in the car for like an hour even without traffic. And so we're like, the latest possible time you had. And so we'd get home so late at night.
But you still got it done academically.
Yeah, as cliche as it sounds, is time management is so important. One thing I learned last year is it sucks not doing stupid stuff on bus rides, but you have to get your homework done. Okay.
So this goes for like high school too. Like my son just went to London and Paris with modern day basketball, right? Wouldn't you like to go for high school?
Yeah.
But I said, Joshua, first, it's privileged to be doing that, but you got to get your homework done. He's like, well, the Wi-Fi's bad. I'm like, Wi-Fi? Like, well, the hotel sucks. The Wi-Fi's bad. The bus, like, I remember in college just finding that little 1 hour time block, right? Because you have study hall on the road.
We do, yeah. We have required study hall hours.
And you have academic counselors come. I mean,
Yeah, they give you everything. I mean, we have our own academic advisor who helps you with scheduling. They give you free tutoring for any class you want if you ask for it. They give you like you have to take required study hall hours, all these computer labs, anything you need. You have to take advantage of it.
Be proactive.
Yeah.
So agree or disagree. I just said this last night. If you're a student athlete and you fail, you're a freaking idiot.
Disagree.
Why?
Well,
you have all the resources.
When you put it that way, then I agree. But I think it can be hard to figure out, like in the beginning as a freshman, it can be hard to figure out how to manage it all. And at that point, if you fail, like I don't think it's just a learning experience. I mean, if you're a senior and you've been doing this for 4 years and you just like slack off, then
you
maybe.
have everything I just think you have a more advantage. You have everything given to you. And I'm not going to say this is at Oregon State, but I know some institutions, I won't mention any names, like we had the test. Like we knew what was going to be on it, like from not only our assistant coach to academics, but former players, right? Like you have resources, you kind of know things.
And I would say that the academic advisor kind of gives you a heads up what the easy classes are, and then all the athletes take them together, and not saying anything.
That's the best. High school is no different.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Eliana, it's been great having you on.
Thank you.
I can't wait till like the spring now.
I know. I'm excited. I want to go back to school.
Okay. No, you were going to leave this beautiful weather? You heard it. Oregon State Beaver sophomore. If you're going to follow some softball games, maybe another College World Series run.
Yeah.
Pac-12 Beavers, they're going to be up there. Newport Harbor grad. It's been great having you on.
Thank you so much.
Fonger News, out.